Hey there, Sagittarius. Welcome to your reading for the week of February 23rd. We're going to jump right in here. You have this gateway and this forgiveness card. It is a good time for forgiveness. Pretty much everyone has had something about it. So this has been going on for a couple weeks. So I think we should all really, I think what we need to forgive is ourselves for like missing out on opportunities and things like that. Even if we look at the astrology, I think there's a ton of stuff going on in the astrology that could be making us realize that like the truth of situations or realize what we missed out on. And the secret is we really haven't missed out on anything. The universe is basically saying, hey, you can do this thing right now. And so, yeah, maybe you did miss an opportunity or something in the past, or you feel like you did. And now you have the opportunity to like revisit it. And we do have a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 26th. And Mercury retrograde is good for revisiting things you think are dead with the Ten of Swords, or, kind of reinventing things that you've already worked on. You start here with the Knight of Pentacles, the Star, and the Two of Pentacles. I feel pretty good about this because you also have the Six of Swords and the Three of Wands. These are cards of progress. I kind of go both ways on the Knight of Pentacles. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. In your reading, I do like it because of the Six of Swords mostly, and that would represent forward progress or moving on from something. So it's like you're starting. And again, you have this Gateway card here, if I can get it off the table, Sag. And there's like a unicorn on the other side of this gateway here, and so it's kind of like you creating a dream, or you creating something, or stepping through like a portal in your life to create something that you've been dreaming of creating. And we also see that because of the Star. The Star is hope, faith, and renewal. The Star can be just good stuff coming in for you. The Star is also having that like North Star vision, a bigger vision for your life, bigger vision for what you want to create, what you want to do, and who you want to be, all that other stuff. I think right now, because we have Pluto in Aquarius, that the Star card, I feel, is more talking about our commitment to what we're doing. There's a ton of imagery on the Star card. You could go super deep, right? But right now, I think what we need to pay attention to is this pool of water. This is the pool of universal consciousness. And we have to like really get into that pool. She's just dipping her toes in the water. But by getting into the water, she is like almost becoming a part of the universe. She is, tapping into the fabric of the universe. And she is becoming the thing that she wants to be, right? So it's like she's not really working towards a goal. She's becoming the goal, if that makes sense. Her energy is the thing that she is trying to accomplish. And that's how deep we have to go right now with the Star. She's also pouring this water here out onto the earth from the pool of universal consciousness. And that basically says what's possible for one person is possible for everyone. And so I also think now that Neptune has left Pisces, we can kind of like accomplish the impossible dream maybe a little bit easier, because I've been saying this for years, literally, if you've been watching me that long, I've been saying that we all need to have like an impossible dream, during Neptune and Pisces. And now that Neptune's in Aries, we can really kind of get moving on that dream. We can start kind of bringing it down to earth. And that's what I feel like you have to do with the Star card. The Star card is also about having hope, and it is popping into my head, Sag, that, being more hopeful for the future, I think would be beneficial. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to say there is no hope in the world, because I don't think that's true, but I feel like people might feel like that, right? It's like, I feel like people are getting to the point where they're like, what's the point? For lack of a better term, right? I think people are at that point where it's like, what's the point? What's the point of, doing something with my life, right? And, again, I think it's worth it to have hope. You have the Two of Pentacles, a lot of Two of Pentacles this week as well. Again, we're at the beginning of Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, which I feel is going to make people more motivated, which is good. But I think the bad side of that is burning yourself out. And so I think especially at the beginning, for the next few weeks or so, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a couple months, we're going to have to learn how to adjust our energy. It's like you might feel super motivated working on a project, and, before you know it, it's like midnight and you haven't fallen asleep yet. And, you've just been working, and then you have maybe the next day is slow because you didn't get any sleep, right? And so I think learning like how much time to give things is what we need to pay attention to. We need to make sure we're not burning out. We need to make sure we're working hard and playing hard, both, balancing both sides. And as long as you do that, I think you'll be fine. Like I said, I think most people who don't know astrology will have to learn this the hard way, right? They're going to have those moments where they're super motivated and they work, for 2 days straight on something, and then they have to take a week off because they burnt themselves out, right? And so I think this is saying, like, do things in balance. With the Knight of Pentacles, you have the Ten of Cups. Very good. Ten of Cups is like fortune after difficulty, happy home, happy family. So I feel a lot of you are, whatever you're working on could be bringing blessings into your life. Again, this is a dream, though. These 10 cups exist above their heads, so they need to take the steps in the real world. And again, this has been a very common message for years, like 2 years now, that we have to start taking those steps on the impossible dream. Because the problem with Neptune and Pisces, even though it's in Aries now, and it won't be coming back to Pisces in our lifetimes, it's very mental. You can live something so much in your head that you don't actually do it because you lived it in your head. And so don't allow that to happen. If you have a dream or something great you're trying to accomplish, you can take a tiny little step, right? And I'll give you a great example. I go all out on my projects. For those of you that have seen things I've created, you know that I go hard, right? And I'm starting a new project right now, and normally I would hire someone to build the website, for example, right? And I would spend a lot of money doing it. But right now, I built it myself, and it is ridiculously simple. It looks terrible, right? But I'm just getting started, and you'll all find out about this in the future. But what I'm building. But what I would say is I just did it as simple as possible, just to get it started. And that is the attitude we need to have right now. Is I had the dream, I had the idea, and I just executed as simply as possible just to get it going. With the Star, you have the Knight of Cups, which you have twice in this reading. This could be a Knight in Shining Armor coming in for you. You do have the Emperor here as well, which could be a divine counterpart. We'll see what comes up. But if you're looking for love, definitely could be love coming in here. It could be moving faster as well. Knight of Cups can say love has been moving slow, and now Knight of Cups, love could be moving faster in your life. Yes, with the Two of Pentacles, you have the Page of Cups. You could have a choice in love with the Page of Cups and the Two of Pentacles, and I think the choice is, do you have love or not? It's not, like, sure, maybe for some of you it's between two people, but I think this is more like the idea of love, and obviously I can't answer that question for you. You all want something different, but you could be deciding. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this Run Wild. It says, let your inner wild child run forth. Yes. You have this Let It Come Forth. It says, give yourself permission to feel it. Yes. I think that letting your inner child out is going to be very important this week. This deck, I can't remember the name of this deck, but it is like the Inner Child Oracle or something like that. And so the reason I use this deck is because in the mid-monthly readings, everybody got those, got stuff about their inner child. So, I think that it is a good time to let your inner child run wild, basically, and go nuts, especially you. Because as we always talk about, Uranus entering Gemini in April, which is your opposite sign, I think that it's like less serious energy is going to be good. As I always say, that doesn't mean you're not taking things seriously. It just means you're willing to be open and playful and non-attached to the outcome of the things that you're creating at this time. And your first card is the Seven of Swords. You have the Six of Swords and the Knight of Cups. Seven of Swords, he has these polka dots on his cloak. Polka dots in the tarot represent taking things too seriously and needing to be more playful. So, I definitely feel that you are entering into a time where you should let that, wild child out, and you should be experimenting, making mistakes, having fun. I always say that, we have a Mercury retrograde coming up on the 26th, and Mercury retrograde is a great time to make mistakes. And so, it's a great time to experiment because you will learn from your mistakes like 1,000 times faster than if you wait till after the retrograde. So I always encourage people to make mistakes during Mercury retrograde and, try new things and see what happens. He's stealing these swords from this army in the background, so he is going to war, but in a different way. I think I've said to you in the past like 20 readings that this is going to be a card that follows you for the next 7 years or so with Uranus and Gemini. So, again, doing anything you're starting, looking at different ways to start it or different ways of doing it will be very beneficial for you, Sag. You have the Six of Swords. Again, I feel pretty good about the Knight of Pentacles, Six of Swords, and the Three of Wands, even the Wheel of Fortune as well. This really would represent forward progress or making, forward movement towards whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in your life. So I do feel a lot of you are just making progress. Six of Swords, of course, is moving on to calmer shores. So you could be also with the Star creating a lot of improvements. The Star is hope, faith, and renewal. And the word renewal is a good word for Mercury retrograde. Anything with RE in front of it is good during Mercury retrograde. So, taking time to rest, relax, recover, heal, don't burn yourself out, all that would be good for you with these cards. I do feel like a lot of you are, kind of literally moving on to something. You for the past year or so have been getting these messages of getting new jobs, making that type of transition. So if you are, this is a very supportive energy for, making a transition. You have the Knight of Cups again. So again, definitely could be a solid connection. You do have the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords, which, could be bad in this reading. I think that you need to make sure that you're healed if you're getting into a new connection, and also make sure that you're dealing with a person who has also healed. The Ten of Swords is coming up in the good stuff, but the Ten of Swords kind of says there needs to be a hard end, to something. So if you're getting into something and you're still holding on to a past person, or if the person you're dealing with is holding on to a past person, Ten of Swords says that needs to be dead for this to work. So again, I can't answer that for you. Only you know if you're dealing with a past person still or not, or if a new person, if they're talking about their ex, they're not over it yet. So it's time you need to be no, you when you're done talking about your ex, then let me know. With the Seven of Swords, you have the Fool. Definitely time for a new beginning for you here, Sag, especially with the Six of Swords. We don't really necessarily say the Six of Swords is a new beginning card, but it kind of is. They're completely starting over on the calmer shores. They're hoping to get to, they're moving on for the hopes of a brighter future. So, there definitely could be a fresh start energy coming in for you this week. With the Six of Swords, you have the Two of Cups. So, again, perfect match. Two of Cups is usually someone different than your usual type. I still don't know how I feel about that Three of Swords there, so keep that in mind, right? Like I said, if you're still heartbroken, or if a person, and again, not a criticism, Three of Swords doesn't say you're heartbroken, deal with it. It says heal it, right? I always say, to me, tarot is not, it's loose guidance at best, number one. Number two, this is an action that you have to take, right? Each card, and that's one of my bugaboos with tarot, is I think that sometimes people look at it as too predictive. It can predict things, but I think it's more energy that you have to work with, which I make very clear in my readings, right? So I think that this is saying that if someone is heartbroken, it needs to be healed. And obviously, if it's not you, then you can't force someone to do something. But you can open your mouth, like I said. You can say, when you're healed, then, go over there. When you're ready, let me know, right? So opening your mouth is a good use of this energy right here. And again, sometimes when I think that's the problem in relationships is people don't open their mouth. So if you say something, they might pull their head out of their butt and they might be like, oh yeah, why am I still thinking about this past person, right? I'm not saying that is the issue. I'm just using that as an example. And Two of Cups, by the way, is communication. This right here is the Staff of Hermes, which is Mercury, which is communication. So there you go. With the Knight of Cups, you have the World. Yeah, excellent time for Sagittarius to get back to their adventurous self, as I always say to you now. Great time for adventures, great time to get out into the world, great time for you to explore new directions and new ideas and new things. So I would be exploring if I were you. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this Empathy card and this Strength card. The Empathy card, I think, wants you to have more empathy for yourself. Again, the Star card. The Star card is all about healing yourself, so, taking good care of yourself. The Strength card could be you using strength that you have gained over the years or information. It's funny that there's that boat in those choppy waters and you have the Six of Swords. On the Six of Swords, these people are still in the choppy waters. They haven't gotten out of the choppy waters yet, but maybe the choppy waters have taught them something, and you could be realizing how strong you are after going through some choppy waters. You have the Seven of Wands, the Three of Wands, and the Three of Swords. Seven of Wands is a card of conviction. It says when you know that something is for you, then it's for you. So it's about those deep beliefs. It can also say that you feel like you're not ready for something. He has a shoe and a boot on his feet. The story of the card is that he rushed out of his home to defend his position at the top of the hill, but he felt rushed. The Three of Swords could say that you maybe are getting an opportunity for love, but you're not trying to rush. You're not trying to rush your healing, right? And so if that is the case, then you can tell a person that you want to go slow, right? So that's a great option, and you can heal in the meantime, right? So sometimes Seven of Wands says, and especially the Three of Wands, like literally the Three of Wands is my card that says there will never be a perfect moment to do something. So I'm not encouraging you to rush, like I said, but what I am saying is, like, when is enough? Like, when are you ready? And I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. But this could be encouraging you to branch out, with the Three of Wands. And it's saying, you don't have to commit to a person today if this is love. You don't have to marry them right now. But, even if you feel like you need more time to heal, you could still go on a date and see how it goes. You could talk to a person and see how it goes. But I think this could be anything for you, Sag. It could say that it's time to leave your job. Maybe you feel like you're not ready, but you could, go explore new ideas for a new job, or you could learn about new potential, like new opportunities in work or business, right? And so I feel like this is saying it's time to explore. You don't necessarily have to commit, but exploring could be good. And it basically says, the Three of Wands basically says you are ready. Next, you have the Three of Swords, definitely healing. So those three swords are in your own heart. And with the Three of Swords, we have to remove those swords from our heart so that we can heal. And again, we don't have to do this. We don't have to forgive anyone directly. We can just forgive them in our heart and we can heal. And that, I think practicing forgiveness, especially, during a Mercury retrograde, it's a good time to forgive past situations, close them out. With the Ten of Swords, let them be dead, right? And so that would probably be good. With the Seven of Wands, you have the Five of Swords. Yeah, it's like a risk, Five of Swords can be separation, walking away. But really, it's my card of taking a risk and, doing something that could be a risk. Like maybe this is about you opening up to the potential of having your heart broken again. Obviously, if you want love, that there is always a chance that you could be heartbroken, right? So this could be about taking the risk anyway to, open up and allow for love in your life, which I think would be good for you here, Sag. And yeah, that's what I would do. With the Three of Wands, you have the Queen of Swords. Pretty good, because Queen of Swords is clarity. She only has clouds halfway up her body, and she's looking forward into the future, and she's gaining or has gained clarity on her situation. So a lot of you could see that. She would also be looking over to the Wheel of Fortune here. And so the Wheel of Fortune and the good stuff is good, obviously. It can represent luck. It is your card, right? It puts you in a position of power and strength and allows you to get what you want from the reading. But it's also a card of creating a turnaround in your life. So a lot of you could be seeing how to heal a situation, which is good. With the Three of Swords, you have the Five of Wands. Five of Wands can be conflict or competition, and it could also say that you are conflicted in love or, something that you could love. Like I said, take it how it resonates. Doesn't have to be love. It could be you opening back up to starting a business or, getting that job that you want. And it's you're opening yourself up to the potential that you don't get it. The trick with Five of Wands is to study the competition and look at what they're doing, what they're not doing, and then be different, which is going to be your motto, right? I think I've said to you before, I think just like Gemini, your motto should be sticking out like a sore thumb, right? So everything you do, you need to think about, how can I stand out? How can I highlight the unique parts of myself? Star, right? Star wants you to shine your inner light and wants you to shine it bright. And so the Five of Wands, all we have to do is stand out from the competition and be unique, and then we can be successful. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this poverty card. It says financial loss, strains, down on your luck, scarcity mindset, bad position, lack of money, emotional matters, but it's coming up in the good stuff, so you're probably coming out of this. You have this long road card. It says great distance, long wait, patience, slow growth, development, pathways, long-term planning, nurture, and years. So you've been on a long journey here, Sag, which we already know based off of your past readings, and maybe you're finally getting to the end of that long journey. You have the Emperor, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Ten of Swords. Emperor can be about taking control of your situation. It can also be like telling you to get ready for an opportunity. He has his armor on underneath his cloak on the Emperor, and the armor, but he's sitting down, right? So he is ready to go at a moment's notice. Whenever an opportunity presents itself, he takes it. And so I think that, being prepared or being ready for opportunities, because clearly there could be some opportunities coming in here, and then taking them, right? He doesn't hesitate when an opportunity presents itself. He asks for an opportunity, he gets it, he takes it, he moves towards it. And I think that would be very good. You have the Wheel of Fortune, which is you, like I said. So whenever you show up as the major arcana version of yourself, kind of puts you in a position of power and strength and allows you to get what you want from the reading. Definitely could be a change in your fortunes and the good stuff. I like the Wheel of Fortune, but I always say the Wheel of Fortune requires work for sure. We have to double down on the good stuff, get rid of the bad stuff. We have to learn each one of these astrological placements here: Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. They all have a book that they're holding on to. So sometimes to change our fortunes, we have to learn, but it's coming up in the good stuff. So I think you are changing your fortunes. We do have this snake here, and snakes represent fears. Snakes are guardians of portals, and circle cards are portals. So we usually have to, if there's something we want that we don't have, it could be because we have a fear around it. And I would say with all this stuff about heartbreak and everything here, and also that gateway card with the unicorn, right? It's like saying you have to face some sort of fear, which could be the fear of getting hurt. And again, it doesn't have to be love. You can fear, if you've failed in business or work or anywhere else, facing that fear again is the thing that will change your fortunes. You have the Ten of Swords. I really just feel, like I said, this is like a cut. It's like saying something is dead. Something is dead, done, over with, which is what the Ten of Swords represents to me in the first place. But, it feels like a hard cut, where you're just saying okay, this is over. And again, I'm not saying it's love or anything, specific. It could be anything that just isn't working. And I feel like a lot of you could just be cutting something out here. In the good stuff, it would represent a blessing in disguise. He's making a symbol right here that represents a blessing. So I do think there could be blessings in cutting something out. With the Emperor, you have the Two of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles, work hard, play hard again. Again, like I said, take advantage of opportunity, but just don't burn yourself out. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, Seven of Pentacles is a card of analysis. Normally I say this is a card that says, is the juice worth the squeeze? But I kind of feel that for you, Sagittarius, but I also more feel this is big picture life stuff where the Wheel of Fortune, he has to look at what he has grown and decide what's worth it and what's not, right? And so with the Wheel of Fortune is your destiny, but it's your destiny in the sense that it's your personal vision for your life, where you see your life going. And so the Seven of Pentacles might be saying, I would say the entire retrograde, until the end of March, from now, whenever you're watching this, till the end of March, even though it doesn't start until the 26th, I would start now whenever you're watching this. And I would take some time to examine what you do and where you put your energy and say, is it worth it or not? With the Ten of Swords, you have the Three of Wands. Yeah, what are you waiting for, right? Ten of Swords is a corpse. And it says, Is there a stinking corpse in your life? Something that you're holding on to, something you're dealing with, something you don't want to be doing anymore that you need to cut out. It's coming up in the good stuff, so obviously it would be a good thing to, cut it out. You have this chain card, says chain of events that will affect your life. 2026 is a dot connection year, I feel, where people could be connecting a lot of dots. So whenever I see this card, it makes sense to me, especially in 2026. Where we could see why we had to go through things and what it's adding up to. Again, the star is the big picture card. It is a card of getting a bird's eye view on your life where everything's coming together, everything's making sense. So, probably a good thing. This is crazy. You have this unicorn card. It says use your intuition to make beneficial changes. So we have the unicorn right here. And again, if there's an opportunity for you to step through some sort of portal, I would trust your intuition. You have this love card. Of course you do. I had a feeling this was talking about love I mean, obviously not all of you, but I think a lot of you, this is a love reading in some ways. But it's like talking about the concept of love and what it means to you and all that other stuff. You have this handshake. It says meeting with a stranger could be important. Yes, if I were a Sagittarius, I would be socializing a lot more, meeting a lot more people, getting out into the world. Again, those adventures, those are the things that are going to lead to good results. And you have this caterpillar. It says things will not always be this way. A change is coming. Yes, a lot of change cards here. Ten of Swords especially can be a big change. So that looks good. Pretty good, Sag. So thank you for being here. Make sure to leave a comment, and definitely enjoy your week.